And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Our team NBA previews continue. We're still in Salt Lake City for the Utah Jazz. Looking forward to seeing and hearing more about the Utah Jazz, and who better could do that than a great reporter covering the team. Got to go ahead and catch what he's doing for the J Notes, part of the Fansided experience. It is Matt John. Matt, great to have you here on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It makes me feel so noticed.
Absolutely, indeed. Like you myself, I've written quite a bit in the world of both the NBA and pop culture. So absolutely, always a pleasure to have someone like-minded on that coming onto the show. But it is, of course, the Utah Jazz. They come into the season. The expectations obviously aren't very high, but it starts, of course, with Lauri Markkanen. Let's focus in on him first. Lauri Markkanen, he did sign a little over a year ago the big extension contract. He didn't exactly have the greatest season, but he was coming off at that time when he signed that extension a really successful period of time where he was one of the best forwards in the NBA. Your thoughts if he can get back to that level, and if he'll stay at Utah Jazz in doing so?
I believe he can. I mean, last year he was hurt. That's the first thing to take note of, is that he had a pretty injury riddled season. And also, like, I think the Jazz were, if you look at how they played this past season, they were definitely trying to emphasize losing as many games as possible. So, and like marketing between, like, him being hurt obviously kind of played into that, but I also think they tried to limit, how much he could do. I think they wanted that high pick, and so I think that this season, I think it's going to be a little different. Like Austin Ainge said, you're not going to see a repeat of like what you saw last season. That's what he promised the fans. And so I think we are going to see Markkanen look more like himself this season. I kind of think his performance at Eurobasket was a good reminder of, like, yep, this is how phenomenal this player can be when he's got nothing holding him back. And
All right, and with that, but how long do you think he'll stay a member of the Utah Jazz? Because as he continues to get back to good health, he continues to get back to on the court where he once was. He obviously becomes more attractive for a team, maybe in, like what Austin Age says, not tanking mode, but a rebuilding mode at that.
It's definitely an interesting question. Like, I mean, the last, I've been up to date on just how the Jazz feel, and it's always been the same. They love him, and they say that they want to keep him around. I think for the time being, we should believe that. I mean, a lot can change, between now and next season. I think this season is going to be very revealing about, who the Jazz think should stay and who should go. And so in Markkanen's case, like, I think, like, even though it does make sense for the Jazz to trade him, I totally get why people would buy into that. Like, a guy like him isn't very easy to replace. He's not only a star, he's a unique star. He's a 6'11" forward who can create his own shot and kind of provides his own versatility. I mean, I would love to see him on a winning team, and it would be awesome if that were on the Jazz. I think if he does get traded, I don't think it's going to be this season. I think they're going to see how does he fit next to some of their young talent like Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr. and Isaiah Collier and all those guys. I think for the time being, the Jazz are kind of like in a wait and see mode, because right now they're like, well, we're going to be bad anyway. So it's just a matter of seeing like if Markkanen fits well into the vision that they have long term. So I think there will be plenty of trade rumors about him all season, but I don't think they'll be leaked from the Jazz side. I think it's much more likely it'll be interested suitors, and I'm sure he'll have plenty of them. I don't see a trade happening this season, but I could see if someone comes up with a Godfather offer, that's what will get Danny Ainge's attention. Like, then we could see a trade happen, but I don't think it would happen until at the earliest by next summer.
So with that, again, with Lauri Markkanen's status, like you said, seemingly more solidified going forward, the idea is to have him work with the young talent, and some of that young talent showed itself off recently at Media Day for the Utah Jazz, including Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, the top first round pick. A lot of hope and potential with him. I know that there was a little bit of difficult period of time with him during the draft. The way he and his manager have now parted ways, set themselves up as far as which teams they preferred to go to and which teams they didn't. But Ace Bailey, again, where all that talk was before, it has to end now with good play and a solid foundation going forward. This is his chance and an opportunity to shine and have a team built around his skill set. Your thoughts after seeing him this summer and what he can provide for this team moving forward?
I mean, he did not play for very long. I think, if I remember correct, he played only 2 games in summer league, and the first game, like his raw ability, like was definitely on display. But like that second game, oh my goodness, he looked like a monster out there. He definitely looked like a man among boys. Like you could definitely see in that second game in the summer league why the Jazz, like, even though he and his camp were saying, "Don't draft me, I want to go to Washington," they said, "Nope, we don't care if you're not happy. Your talent is too like undeniable for us to pass on." Like he looked aggressive. He was finding his own shot. Like I I definitely think that there will be some growing pains along the way in his rookie season, but I do think that like I think that Bailey's going to be an excellent. I think he's going to bring excitement back to Utah. Like, not that there aren't exciting players on the team already, like Markkanen, but I think Bailey is going to captivate Jazz fans, and maybe he won't have like the last rookie to really captivate the fan base as much as he did was Donovan Mitchell, and that was like totally out of nowhere when it happened. Like Bailey, I think will be exciting. I don't think he'll be as good as Mitchell was, and I probably shouldn't compare the two, but I do think that Bailey's going to provide a lot of excitement by himself, and that alone will make this season, even if the Jazz are going to be as bad, it will make them infinitely more entertaining than they were last season.
So with that, with Ace Bailey, and you obviously want to make sure he has the best platform of success. Will Hardy has been frank about his comments about what they want to do to go ahead and build a foundation for Ace Bailey to thrive in. What do you see for this season as the best steps for him to progress? And obviously, as a rookie, you're not expecting a whole lot, but what steps do you see from the beginning of the season to the end of the season is best for him to work with and the best results therein?
Well, like knowing like what happened last season, like Cody Williams, that he was their high lottery pick last season, and they threw him to the Wolves. And Williams was very clearly not ready for that, but not all hope is lost. He was also pretty impressive during summer league. But getting back to Bailey, it wouldn't shock me if they do the same thing with him. But as I said earlier, like I think Markkinen is going to play more. I think they are going to put him in the starters and try to put him around, their best guys and try to kind of slowly integrate him, make him more of a focus as time goes on. Like I'm like Bailey, his talent is definitely there, but he also definitely needs to, iron out the kinks in his game. There's still quite a few. Like he does take, some bad shots and I do think that they will, try to make him play within a team scheme. Like if I am intrigued to see how NBA ready he will be at the start. Like I've been trying to be realistic and cautiously optimistic about what he can do. And I think that they will probably put him among the starters, but I do think they will make it clear, Markkinen's the number one guy on the pecking order, and I think they're going to try to challenge Bailey to see if he can slowly but surely prove himself to be on that same level. And obviously, the talent is there, but every every player with all-star potential needs a minute to really find their footing in the NBA. So I think it's going to be he's in the start. He'll be a starter, and I think over time they'll increase his usage with more as the season progresses.
So with that, there's still a bevy of young talent on the Utah Jazz that Will Hardy can draw from. I know that for a lot of Lakers fans and a lot of fans around the league that are interested in trying to obtain a center, that might be a long-term solution for themselves, or in the case of the Lakers for Luka. Walker Kessler's name has popped up consistently over the course of the past year or so. With Walker Kessler's situation between the team and the negotiations seemingly have already been tabled 2 weeks before the deadline that you can actually do it, which was kind of surprising. They just said, you know what, this ain't going anywhere near each other. We're just going to say we're going to put it down for now. With that, as far as is concerned, because this could lead to another situation like you have currently with Golden State, as we talk on the deadline of what's going on with Golden State and Jonathan Kuminga. This could lead next season to those kind of issues. What do you do for a guy that again shows some promise, especially as a rim protector, especially someone that can provide you consistent double doubles? Is not going to be probably in the elite of centers, but still someone that could be a rock solid foundation for a team going forward.
So I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I'm like,
For Walker Kessler, for basically Walker Kessler, what are your to the situation between him and management in regards to the possible restricted free agency that he might actually see next summer?
yeah, like it's definitely like it's worth noting. Like during media yesterday, he like didn't want to talk about it, but he said, "I'm a little frustrated." And I think that frustration stems from last season. He was awesome. He was one of their bright spots in what was a pretty dismal season, all things considered. I think that he came into the offseason thinking, okay, I am one of the league's, I'm already one of the league's best rim protectors, and I am also one of the league's best rebounders. So Utah is going to go out of their way to keep me, aren't they? And, Utah, I think they, even though it's kind of a risk, I think what they're telling themselves, I think what they've told him is, no, we plan to keep you, but we're being strategic about this because like they have every intention of paying him, but they also want to have their cap flexibility for next summer. It's kind of like what the 76ers did with Maxey. Like they didn't extend him after his third season, even though he'd made it clear he's a fantastic player. But they said, don't worry, we're going to pay you. And they did, but they also had the cap room to sign Paul George. As disastrous as that was the strategy. Like, I do think Kessler, like, understandably kind of took it a little personally that they didn't go out of their way to extend him. Like, actually, you talked about Kuminga. The one Jazz alum who people compare the situation to has been Gordon Hayward, where they didn't extend him. Like, and more than that, they let him, like, kind of wallow in the wind during his restricted free agency. And he took that very personally. And for lack of a better phrase, he basically screwed them over 3 years later because he felt like that was utter disrespect. I don't think that's what's going to happen with Kessler. Like, I do think it is frustrating when you think that you are up for long term, a big financial boost, and to find out that actually they're going to wait until next year. That is a little disheartening. But I do think that the Jazz are not going to mess around with this. They like once next offseason comes around and they get Yusuf Nurkic, Kevin Love, like and potentially Kyle Anderson, like all off their books. I think they're going to make it clear. All right, Walker, name your price, and we'll take care of it accordingly.
I hope so, because again, as an individual that is sought after in the league because of his certain skill set that he brings, and in the reigniting of big men in this league that has taken place, especially when you're talking about teams that can throw out 2 7-footers at the same time that work well together. It's going to be interesting to see if again the rumors start, uh, the rumors may not always be on Lauri Markkanen; they may fall on Walker Kessler.
I'm sure there are going to be more rumors this year. Like it would shock me if the Jazz really messed this up. I think they know what they have in Kessler, and they know that they shouldn't let it slip through their fingers. So like maybe neither will be Jazz men, going forward. But I think for now, I think Utah understands just as well as anyone else does that these are players that cannot be easily replaced. And in fact, they've been, when they started their rebuild in 2022, it wasn't like they said, all right, we're going to build around Markkanen and Kessler are going to be two of our guys in our next playoff team. And by the end of that first year, it was clear that they could be, as long if everything goes right. And I don't think their confidence in them has wavered since.
Okay, fair enough, and that'd be good to note going forward. It is, of course, Matt John. Please go ahead and support what he's doing today on the J Notes right there for you at Fansided. So I wanted to ask you this, Matt. After those individuals, because a lot of the spotlight will be on those three individuals, there's a lot to talk about as far as players who have still have potential and players who have not reached that potential in regards to the youth that are currently on the Utah Jazz. I personally still like Kyle Filipowski. I saw him here in Vegas at Summer League. I saw him show out on a 30-point double-double performance. Offensively, I think he's extremely skilled. Defensively, let's move on to a different subject. I will say that, for him, the sky's the limit offensively. There are other players in the mix. Walter Clayton Jr., it might just get to the point where he might be the starting point guard because there's such a question mark at starting point guard. What players give you hope for the potential for the future outside of the three that we were talking about mainly?
Filipowski is definitely one of them. You kind of nailed it on the head with him. It's kind of exciting. Like I remember coming into his rookie season, I thought he was going to spend most of the season with the Stars, and it took him no time at all to show Utah, no, you got to steal with me. So he's definitely one of them. Actually, one Jazz man that I am pretty excited about for this coming season is Brice Sensebaugh. He also, again, this past Jazz season was a horrible watch. Maybe not horrible, but just kind of sad to watch. And Sensebaugh, who pretty much had a pretty ineffective rookie season, came in and showed, no, I've got scoring prowess, I've got shooting prowess. I don't think he's a star in the making, but the Jazz alum who I have compared him to, who he has been compared to, not just by me, has been Bojan Bogdanovic. I think that Bojan Bogdanovic was one of the best, Jazz free agency successes, and I think Sensebaugh shows a lot of his game. He's not necessarily the best athlete, but he's a fantastic shooter. I think he's going to prove that more if and when they give him a bigger role. And he has shown that he can put the ball. He is a bit of a bucket getter. It's kind of funny because he had Bogdanovic. Bogdanovic was best known as being a deep threat, one of the league's best snipers. But he could score, not at an all-star level, but he was someone that teams knew they could not. If you left him on an island, he could score on you. And I think Sensebaugh, if he reaches his peak, can have a career like that. He was actually like Filipowski. Sensebaugh was a nice, fun surprise for the Jazz. So that's one of them. As far as the others, I am also intrigued to see Keontae George is definitely going to be under the microscope this season. This time last year, he was the one Jazz youngster who everyone talked about the most. They thought, okay, he could be a linchpin on our next playoff team. And last season he wasn't bad, but he didn't take any noticeable improvements. And it got to the point where the Jazz were like, okay, well, he's coming off the bench now. So with Sexton and Clarkson gone, and with him now, George has nothing holding him back. I'd love to see what he looks like in response to what was a pretty disappointing sophomore campaign, but not to the point where you can say he's a bust, but enough to be this guy could be something and he might not. So that's who I'm definitely paying attention to this season.
Fair enough. And like you mentioned, Brice Sensebaugh bounced back with a season where he was shooting above 40% from three. So he's someone that obviously the Utah Jazz can utilize in the course of their rotation. So hopefully he will be a part of their regular rotation moving forward. But I will ask you this to finish off the conversation on the Utah Jazz part of things. If everything goes right with as far as the health, the success, the talent for this team this year, taking a look at the landscape of what you have on this roster, if everything goes right for the Utah Jazz, please let me know what that looks like.
I think if everything goes right for the Jazz this season, it would be, I would say, ironically enough, having a season probably about as bad as last season was. But at the same time, like the difference between this season and last season is that they're not going to bench a lot of their guys. That's what they did last season. They benched, Jordan Clarkson and John Collins and Lauri Markkanen. I think this season it will be, Lauri Markkanen returns to form, and ultimately it won't make the Jazz better standing wise, but it will make them a whole lot more entertaining to watch. Bailey looks amazing. Like their youngsters, like this is another thing about the Jazz that'll be so intriguing. They're not going to keep all of their young talent this season. This is going to be a seeing who should stay and who should go. Like in a perfect season, it will be very clear who are the keepers, and so between that, they get a clearer idea of who should be like on the team long term. And I'm sure that's not going to be everyone. Like Markkanen does return to form. The Jazz are still among the worst teams in the West. And the dirty little secret about the West is that the Jazz are basically the only team that are going to willingly be bad this year. Everyone else in the West is trying to make the playoffs this year. So I think in perfect season, they are still like among the worst teams, maybe even get the worst record again. And unlike this past year, this is the other thing that kind of gets forgotten. They had the worst case scenario in the lottery when they got the 5th overall pick, despite being the worst team in the NBA. It worked out because Bailey fell to them. So perfect season is they get the worst record, and this time it doesn't backfire on them in the lottery.
All right. Well, fair enough indeed. Again, the prospects for what Ace Bailey can do on this team, given that I still think are very high, like you think they're very high. I think that there is the possibility that there's just going to be a lot of reps, a lot of ups, a lot of plays, a lot of chances for him to go ahead and learn and grow and make things happen. So I'm very excited to see what Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, and the rest of the Utah Jazz will actually do and perform under those type of circumstances this season. But before we head on out, I always ask every guest that does these NBA team previews with me to evaluate fairly through their eyes what they think of the Los Angeles Lakers. And I do this to help not only our audience formulate their opinion on what the Lakers could be going into the season, but also what mine will be as well, because it's always nice to see someone outside of the Lakers bubble to go ahead and let me know what they feel the Lakers will be doing in the Western Conference and the entire NBA. So with that said, what are your thoughts on what the Lakers will be doing this season?
I mean, like a lot of their offseason moves to me were like, well, like why not add this player? Why not add DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart? I mean, last season the top end talent was definitely there with the Lakers. I mean, they weren't a gentleman's sweep last season, but I think that series was closer than people want to give it credit for. As far as this season, like it looks like Luka Doncic is in shape. It looks like he's ready to roll. Like the West, like as a whole, like it was kind of an arms race this summer. So a bunch of teams got better. Like the Lakers kind of already have like their two, top guys, and it's just you just need to build the right team around them. And in their case, like yeah, they added Marcus Smart. I'm a Boston guy, so let me just say that if Smart looks like his normal self, that's a home run for the Lakers. But knock on wood. Aiton, he has declined, but I also think that he played at his best. Playing next to an elite playmaker, and now he's playing next to two with the Lakers. So I think he's a prime candidate to look like the guy that was the second or third best player on a finals team 4 years ago. I think there's a solid chance of that happening. Like if all goes right for the Lakers, they absolutely have the talent to be at the top of the West. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. I'm just saying if things go right for them with their additions and Luka and LeBron kind of figuring out how to play together, that can be a pretty scary team. But like I would feel better about them if they'd kept Finney Smith, but it sounds like they felt differently, and they may be proven wrong, they may be proven right. But I definitely I see the vision with the Lakers.
Fair enough indeed. A lot of people do as well. And again, the diehards that want the Lakers to win now say, why didn't they go on all in now? Because Rob Pelinka has the vision of competing now, but also freeing that beloved cap space in the next 2 summers, which you know of as well for your team, Utah Jazz. It's all about that cap space, that beautiful cap space in 26 and 27. So all these players will just magically come to your team. So
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But wanted to thank you so much for joining him today. But before we head on out, this is what I call the cheap plug part of the program, where you go ahead and let everyone know where you're at, how to follow you as far as what great work that you're doing, not only on the J Notes for the Fansided experience, but also following on social media, anything that you want to plug before we head on out.
Well, if Jazz fans want, good original coverage, like follow me on the J Notes for Fansided. In fact, that doesn't extend to just the J Notes. Every contributor for Fansided provides their own original, insightful analysis on the NBA. Whether you're a Jazz fan or a fan of the Lakers or anybody else, Fansided is the way to go. And if you want, original angles that ask a lot of questions and just bring a bunch of discussion to the table, Fansided is the way to go.
Well, there you go, indeed. Once again, it is Matt John. Matt, it's been so great to have you here. Please follow him today, right there for you, starting with the J Notes part of the Fansided experience. And absolutely, just been a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully, if you wish, I would love to have you back on during the season to give us an update on the Jazz, an update on your thoughts on the NBA as well, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely, and hopefully by then I will figure out this camera situation with my laptop. If viewers haven't noticed, I've been on my phone, and it hasn't. And if they've been paying close attention, it hasn't exactly been the most smooth experience. So
no worries, you're a trooper. You got through it. You got through it, and the technology. I tell you what, it happens all the time. It happens to me. It happens to everyone. Just yes, the more things get better, the more things get harder. Let's just say that. But
no, that's
Matt,
true.
You've been incredible, sensational on this show. I truly am blessed to have you on, and I'm looking forward to bringing you back on, talking the NBA, talking the Utah Jazz, talking the Los Angeles Lakers right here on the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and can't wait to do it again.
Sounds good to me.